Sabah everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to check out the brand new Galaxy Fold in Cosmos Black. Now this one is also the unlocked version, so there's no bloatware from carriers as well as no locking from carriers. You should be able to pop in a SIM card here and use it in any carrier that you'd like. The only thing I want to mention to you guys is this is the US 4G one. This is not the 5G model, as in the US we don't have the 5G model yet. But the experience with the unlocked model should be pretty much the same. This is TK. Let's check out the brand new Galaxy Fold. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified whenever we put out new videos on the channel. So here we have it, the Galaxy Fold. The outer shell is pretty much just small information on that. This one is the Galaxy Fold unlocked model, again in Cosmos Black. There is a silver color that's also available. Unfortunately, I didn't have access to it, but I also prefer the black one personally. So I've decided to go with this one. But we do definitely have that little kind of a pocket inside of a pocket. And then of course, now we actually get access to the box. It still says Galaxy Fold. It still has the same kind of moniker here on the box, except that it's in white, so it's a little bit harder to see, but you can kind of see it right there, Galaxy Fold. The top part is the actual phone. You'll notice right there, it's kind of encased by itself. Let's go ahead and put this on the side for a second. I'll open it up so we can see that it's sitting right there. Of course, let's look at all this stuff. So the first thing they tell us here is do not press on the screen very hard with either a sharp object, either basically a fingernail or actually a pen. So make sure you don't use any pen input. There is no pen input for this. And of course, or apply excessive pressure on the screen, because this actually will have damage on it. So this is definitely going to be one of those devices that you use very carefully. It is not water resistant. Do not take off the screen protector and do not have it close to any other magnets. Last but not least, it obviously is make sure you just don't put it inside the section where there's cards, keys, or anything, so you don't damage the device. And of course, we have this nice little welcome letter, basically just explaining to us the imagination and the experience that you're going to be using this, as this will change the way you interact with your smartphone. Now, the really cool thing here, at least in the US, we do have a service that comes with this. This is called the Galaxy Fold Premier Service. You have support 24 hours a day, basically Fold Concierge. There's the phone number, 1 year replacement protection with $149. They explicitly say it there. And of course, if you purchase the Galaxy Fold before December 31st, 2019, I'm assuming before the next model starts coming out, then of course you can scan this QR code to be able to get access to the service itself. Again, it's called the Fold Premier Service. The last thing here that we have in the box, if I'm not mistaken, this should be the case. They're including a somewhat of a carbon fiber case, or a case that you can use with this device, which is nice because at the price point that you're getting, and specifically at the Samsung Experience store here in Los Angeles, we did not have access to cases other than these. Now they do come with two pieces, so there's one piece here. Of course, there's the SIM removal tool and a secondary piece here as well as there. And then these are going to be basically the adhesive to make this stick to the case, to the actual phone. And of course, when you have it closed, it should basically be more of a clamshell experience, but again, help you protect the actual exterior of the device, although it's pretty rugged itself already. And then last but not least, we have, of course, the US plug charger here. Unfortunately, okay, so we got the adaptive fast charger. I am not sure why we have this. So this is not fast charging by any means. This is not even going to be comparable to what we have with the Note line of devices. USB-A to USB-C converter. This is an OTG adapter to be able to transfer your data from your old device using the Smart Switch application that you can download and install on your old device, as well as it's already installed on the Fold. Last but not least, we also have noticed here is, because this is the Cosmos Black box as opposed to the silver that you've seen on maybe on other channels, this actually includes the Galaxy Buds in black, which is definitely very nice. Very nice and very good. And you can see the wear and tear that I've had on my box, and basically it's very, very nice. It charges wirelessly and wired, and of course works for hours. As far as the box here, what we have essentially is just the cables as well as the ear tips for the brand new buds that you're going to get in the box. And here we have the device. Again, as I mentioned to you guys, they actually ship it unfolded. So basically it ships flat, so you don't actually get the device folded, I'm assuming, so that it extends the life of the fold or the crease that we have in there. We have the camera set up on the front as well as the triple cameras in the back, and then of course we have an additional set of cameras here on the top. So we have cameras actually all over this device. Actually, we'll get into that. But the overall experience, what you're looking at right here, is a 7.3-inch display. Now this is called a dynamic AMOLED display, and it is capacitive touch, obviously, since we're going to be using touch on this. It does support HDR10+, as well as the fact that the resolution here is a little bit different. It's a 1536 by 2152. So it's definitely not exactly a square, as you kind of notice here that the camera does take part of it. And of course, what we have essentially here is just the warnings as we saw before. And here we have the brand new Galaxy Fold. Let's put this away. Overall, the display, as I mentioned to you guys, this actually, if I haven't set it up, I haven't even turned it on yet. So what I was told at the store when I was first picking it up is not to actually push the device to close it. So a lot of people I've seen, they try to basically push the device from the inside, but that goes against the main warning that they gave us. They told us to basically put a finger here. So basically put the Fold here and then close it. And at that point, yeah, fingerprint magnets, basically close it, and then you have it obviously in the closed position. We have a fingerprint sensor, a power button, and a volume rocker. We have a SIM tray here that doesn't actually include a basically the ability of adding SD cards, as this has a 512 gigs of internal storage, so definitely way more than what we need, but unfortunately no expandable storage. We have 2 of the antenna bands. On the top, we have one of the bottom firing speakers and a microphone, and of course we have stereo speakers on this, so when we marry it on the bottom, we have the secondary speaker as well as a USB-C with the additional microphone. The hinge mechanism is actually very solid. This is very good. And what you're getting essentially here is just the nomenclature for Samsung, and of course, let's go ahead and unfold it. And when you close it, it kind of goes away. And of course, you start looking at the camera array in the back, on the front, as well as the earpiece. There is a smaller 4.3 inch display or 4.6 inch display that's a Super AMOLED display sitting there. Let's go ahead and close it. And then of course, there's that whole mechanism of opening and then closing. When it is closed, it is magnetically closed, so it's not going to pop open. Although when it's open, let's go ahead and try. Yep, it won't flex unless you actually kind of force it to flex. And you can kind of see the crease. So the crease is right there. You can see it. Here's the reflection. And I'm showing it to you right now when the display is off, mostly because when we turn it on and we start looking at it straight on, like right now, it's hard to tell. That's the main thing. When you're looking at it straight and you're using it to consume media, to do whatever you want to do on the actual device, you should have no problem with it. So here we have it. The main UI, I didn't actually set up anything. I just pretty much went through, connected my Wi-Fi. As you can see, it's connected right there. And of course, other than that, I think for the most part, it's the same thing. So what we're running here, let's go ahead into the settings. So the software version that we're running here is One UI 1.5 over Android 9.0. So there's no Android 10.0 out of the box. And of course, if we just keep pressing it, we're basically going to get the nice little Android Pie here. The overall experience should be very similar to basically what we have on the Note 10 or the Note 10 Plus, even the S10 for the most part, since it's using some of the latest version of the One UI software. Swiping up gets us into the app drawer. As far as the installed application, again, this is the unlocked model. I'm pretty much noticing Netflix is pretty much preloaded, Google Play services, as you can imagine, Samsung's global goals right there, and then under Samsung apps. So basically the wearable Galaxy, Samsung Health, Bixby, and it just installed Smart Switch, so it's installing applications. Google, we got all the stuff, you know, obviously Play, Photos, all of that stuff, the music play here right there. Google Search, and the camera application, of course, that's proprietary. There is nothing else. And of course, Facebook is installed, but let me double check here. Can I uninstall? No. So Facebook is not uninstallable, but I can disable it if I like. Let me see about Netflix. Netflix is also not uninstallable. Interesting combo, but definitely a lot less than what you get if you were getting this as a carrier locked model. As far as the settings and what we get here, this is just doing the updates right now. We have normal toggles that we normally have here. If I press the button here, this is basically going to just turn on and turn off the display. I can swipe up to unlock, press and hold it for an extended amount of time, the same way we had it on the Note 10 Plus. Bixby gets initiated, and it's something that you can reconfigure so that it actually becomes the assistant, or you can actually use it to actually initiate the shutdown. But currently, if you want to shut it down, you have to go into the notification panel, click that little button, and then you get that option here. Go into the side key settings, and we can actually reconfigure the setting to basically just open up the power menu. So right now it's not, but I press and hold, you notice right there, it actually does come in. But out of the box, that's what they do. Otherwise, when we go into the actual settings, we do have the ability of turning on night mode. If I'm not mistaken, here it is. Night mode is turned on, and then it actually works a little bit better with AMOLED displays, as it does save you a lot more on the battery. By the way, the battery capacity that we have here is a 4,320 milliamp battery, so it's a little bit higher than what we have with some of the other Galaxy devices. Going into the settings, we have pretty much the same categorizations as One UI and we've seen in the past. So connections, sound vibration, display, wallpaper, biometric security, all the different things. Let's go ahead and double check real quick. So sound vibration, let's go in here, and of course you have ringtone, sound mode, use volume. We have, of course, answering and ending calls, do not disturb, sound vibration here. You can go in there and customize that. Advanced sound settings, you have the sound quality effect as well as separate app sound. You can actually customize the sound there. And of course, volume just brings you up into the normal volume side. Go under notification, pretty much the same what we've seen before. App notification badges, ringtone reminder. Now under the display, we have a few settings that we want to pay attention to. First and foremost, obviously, is we have the blue light filter that we can turn on. I did already turn on night mode, but I used it from the toggle. You can turn it on there. Screen mode by default comes out with natural. I like to keep it as vivid. You can see basically how the colors kind of change. So you'll go here, it's a little bit more muted. I'll go in here and it's just a little bit more vibrant, and this is typical of what we'd like to see on Samsung devices. Going back in here, we have obviously font size, screen zoom, full screen applications, screen timeout. Home screen gives us access to the ability of customizing some of the options that we have there. So first and foremost, the home layout. By default, it's basically set up to be home and app screen in one side, or you can basically just say home screen only, and then at that point you could just swipe up to get into it. We have the form factor here. The grid size by default is 5x5. You can go all the way up to 5x6, and I'm assuming the same thing on the App Store. You can go all the way to 5x6. You can add an app button if you want. You could just keep it as a swipe up. Lock screen layout, add apps to home screen whenever you install a new one. Swipe down for the notification panel, we can do that actually, and that's very nice for the UI. Rotate in landscape, and that enables us to basically turn on the actual unit to go in the landscape mode. So if you want to use it in form standard or otherwise, this works perfectly. If you don't turn on this little feature, unfortunately this doesn't turn on by itself. Now, wallpapers and themes, as you can imagine, you can pretty much go in there, customize your wallpapers, your themes, your icons, as well as your always on display, as we do have an always on display here. We'll go ahead and click OK. Let's go ahead and just say add for now. And then of course, lock screen, we can go in there. Right now I don't have anything set up, but you have the ability of setting up a fingerprint sensor, as we saw here, face unlock, as well as other options, as well as the always on display. You notice it's right there. So if I go ahead and close the display, and I'll just keep it, you'll notice right there, that's the always on display. Sorry, the timing on this may not be exactly accurate because I didn't actually connect it to a network yet. So let's go ahead and do this, open it up. Face widgets, you can customize them, contacts, notification, app shortcuts, dynamic lock screen, of course. This enables you to basically open something on the outside part of the display, and then it continues it. So the continuum part of it, similar to what we've seen before. And of course, accounts and backup, Google. Advanced features has some nice little hits there. So under advanced features, we have Bixby routines, side key, call button and end device, link to window. This is very, very nice. And again, similar to we've seen it with Note line of devices. It enables you to basically over Wi-Fi connect it to your desktop, so you don't have to take your phone out of your pocket, but still get your notifications, your text messages, and respond through the phone without having to use anything. So you just turn that on here, and then of course follow the instructions to log in with your Microsoft account. Multi-window tray, of course, smart pop-up view, of course, smart capture, direct share, and of course reduce animation enables basically to have faster animation. It is turned off, so you notice right there I'm doing nothing. Turn it on, I can actually open up the notification shade, and it's similar actually to the Galaxy S10e, because that's the only other device they released this year that had a fingerprint sensor that was mounted on the side. Of course, we have palm swipe for capture, all the other options here, lift to wake, all the good things in there. We have game launcher, of course, dual messenger, video enhancer, you can turn that on, it enhances the video playback on this, and of course, send SMS. Digital well-being is installed, device care, of course, this is going to be where you can see basically your battery, your storage, your memory, and security. So battery, as I said, about 63% out of the box. Storage-wise, out of the 512 gigs of internal storage you have, and we'll see what the verdict is 50 gigs used out of the system. So 461 gigabytes of internal storage available for us to use, way more than enough. And out of the 12 gigs of RAM that we have built into this device, out of the 12 gigs of RAM that we have in here, 3.3 gigs are being used, and of course we have about roughly 8 gigs left. So you can actually clean up 1 gigabyte and it'll bring it down, and that number should just basically readjust. It's basically just loading or taking away all the other applications that are updating themselves as I first get turned on. Last but not least, software update. We'll go ahead and double check and see if there's any updates to the Fold. And it says I am running the latest version with the August 1st security patch update. And as I told you before, this is running Android 9.0 on top of One UI 1.5. Swiping to the left takes us to Bixby Home. Swiping to the right, this is basically if you have any app drawer, you can swipe again. Now, looking at the camera arrays and what we have here, we have a triple camera setup here on the back. There's a 12, a 12, and a 16. The 12 is basically 0.5 to f2.4. That's the dual aperture sensor. And what it essentially is ultra wide, and that's going to be a 16 megapixel ultra wide lens that gives us the ability of getting those wide shots. We should be able to record 4K and 4K up to 60 frames per second, of course, on the system here, as well as obviously be able to use the multiple lenses in different style of video or images. Before we go into the inside, we have a 10 megapixel sensor that's sitting in here. That's going to be giving us an f2.2 aperture on it. And of course, as I mentioned to you guys, we have cameras galore in here. So we have an additional 2 cameras, a selfie camera, as well as an 8 megapixel or a 10 megapixel basically sensor that's next to it. So an 8 and a 10 on the inside, a 10 on the outside, and then two 12s and a 16 on the other side. So we're looking at literally 6 cameras on this device. But the intention of this one is it has basically the secondary 8 megapixel sensor for depth information. And the secondary sensor that we have here is this depth information sensor, very similar to the way we've had it on the S10 Plus. Camera applications, very similar to what we've seen, but the main difference again is the ability of seeing so much more. You imagine this is your viewfinder that you have and it's still pocketable or actually one-handed. Just keep in mind that the sensors is sitting there. So when you're holding it, you more than likely will probably want to hold it this way, and that's one of the nice options. So as I mentioned, we have the wide angle lens, the standard focal length, as well as the telephoto. We have photo mode, live focus, pro mode. Let's go into pro mode. We have panorama, as well as night mode, and that also uses both lenses, the standard focal length and the wide angle lens. Of course, we have food mode. I don't see... Okay, so we don't seem to have the Instagram mode, which is normal what we see, super slow-mo and standard slow-mo, and of course hyperlapse. And you can go into the edit section, you can add additional options, and you can basically see all the different ones that you have there. Under video, what we have here is the ability of turning on super steady option, and that just actually turned down our video to 1080p, but it does stabilize the video tremendously. You have the ability of setting up the 16:9 aspect ratio, as well as on the settings here. Let's go into the settings tab. So rear video maximum is, let's go ahead and see, UHD 4K at 60 frames per second, so you're able to go into that. And of course, front-facing video, you're able to go, maximum is, it is UHD 4K, but it is at 30 frames per second, not 60 frames per second. So regardless of which camera you're using, you should be able to get 4K, it just depending on which setup you're able to use to get the 4K at 60 frames per second. Let's go ahead and do a quick video sample of both the front-facing and the back-facing cameras on this. So for the first sample, we're going with the back sensor first. I do have the steady option here, so should be stabilized very good. The audio should be pretty good, as well as the ability of having a good experience. Unfortunately, the video when stabilized is capped at 1080p, so let's go ahead and turn off stabilization and bump back to 4K at 60 frames per second. Now we're using the full potential of the sensor. We're recording at 4K at 60 frames per second with the brand new Galaxy Fold. Now, the main thing that you want to keep in mind is when you're using the device in this form factor, you're having to hold it a little bit higher, and it is actually kind of a little bit awkward from a holding standpoint because you're actually holding the device kind of in like a big handle kind of thing. So just be aware of that. Although I would imagine that you should be able to still use these sensors with the device closed, just be able to basically set it up ahead of time and close it. Don't do it in the middle of the video. Now, when we switch over to the front-facing sensor, now I'm talking about the front-facing sensor on the inside of the Fold, not the front-facing sensor on the front, because there's two different setups. On the inside, we have two cameras. We have a 10 and an 8. On the outside, we only have a 10. So just be aware of that. There are 6 cameras, but on the outside, we have 4 on the back, 1 on the front. On the inside, we have 2. So using the internal cameras, we're recording here and just doing a quick front-facing video. And because we have a third sensor, now we actually get a third option. So we're going to use front-facing video on the outside of the Galaxy Fold. Right now, switched over to the front-facing camera on the Galaxy Fold. We're using the outside front-facing camera, and I'm recording it again in 1080p. The main experience here is that now I'm actually using the device in a folded form factor. So basically in the candy bar style, I'm just holding it straight and I'm actually talking to you guys straight on it. So you can use it this way, and you can also use this form factor to be able to use the back sensors. So you don't actually end up having to hold it in a really weird, awkward, specific way, especially if you're filming yourself. If you're not filming yourself, you're filming somebody else, I think using the bigger display does give us a much better experience using the actual display there. And I almost feel like I hope there is a way, and I'm going to try to see the settings, to actually turn on the front-facing display or the outside display when you're taking video of somebody on the other side. And I saw that on the Mate X. It enables you to basically help the subject be more comfortable and at least be aware of what the actual composition is for the shot. Again, very nice, very easy, quick audio and video sample of the brand new Galaxy Fold outside camera. Now for a quick audio sample, we're going to be playing Jumbo by Alex Grindo. This is an NCS release. You notice that the little bit of an option here. So if you do turn this on, just be aware that even the slightest touch will turn it on. So that may be something you want to turn off depending on your preference. But let's go ahead and put the volume all the way high. Keep in mind that the speakers are on the secondary display, so one here, one here. So for best experience, you do want to switch the actual unit, and you notice the display will cover for it. So if we're using full screen mode, so basically swipe up from the bottom here, you can bring down or bring up your notification, your navigation bar. So I can swipe up and bring it in. But let's go ahead and play volume rocker all the way to 100%. Let's see.
Jack it up.
Definitely sounds really good. It has some nice bass into it, and again, both speakers are being basically used. And again, for best experience when watching movies, you definitely want to use it in this form factor. So hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to check out the brand new iPhone 11 in the pool. We're going to be testing out the IP60. So no way of actually zooming in. So for the most part, you're basically going to be, for the better or worse, letterboxed in here because of the 16:9 aspect ratio on the video that I have here. But again, it does work actually pretty good. In the pool, my son and I are going to have some fun. Where he is right there. And we're going to see how the phone works. Pictures, video, as well as audio, and all of it. Sound is absolutely fantastic. Now I want to see basically how this actually works. So if let's say I close the device, go ahead and open up the front-facing display. You'll notice right there the screen is locked. I'll swipe away, go into the Recents app. I'll go ahead and open up YouTube. YouTube opens up the exact same way. And I'm able to use it in full screen here, but of course here I'm able to zoom in to fit the entire 4.6-inch display. But the sound, very, very nice. And I actually love the continuum option, the ability of actually continuing from the outside to the inside. You do have the ability of doing it backwards, and you can actually configure it that way. But the main benefit, of course, is you open up the device, you get a notification, you unlock it, and you want to be able to basically get into your app drawer. You swipe up, everything is still in there. And of course, what you want to do, let's say you want to open up YouTube. Well, YouTube opens up there. I'll bring it down. Fully functional, very nice to use. But the main difference, though, is just the fact that no, not right now. It's just a much smaller experience, a very smaller display. Not even compared to what we have now with most smartphones. It's much smaller. So here, but the prediction's actually not bad. It's actually pretty good considering I'm trying to type for it. This is a test. And nope, didn't get it right. But it knew I was trying to, this is a test. Typing is not going to be that hard, and of course I can just open it up and it keeps the continuation. There's a set of applications that you're able to do this with, so let's go ahead and open it up. Let's go back in here. And then of course, if I swipe from the right side, there's a pre-configured list. You're able to bring in more applications. An example would be here. I can click YouTube. YouTube opens up here. Swipe up one more time. And let's say I want to open up the internet browser, and at this point it'll open up in the third window. And at this point you can also customize it, change the actual sizing. You can also open up different things. You notice they're all working and they're all updating at the same time. Essentially what we're getting here is the ability of using 4 applications. So I have the pop-up camera, which is the camera application. We have the Play Store sitting behind it. We have YouTube sitting up there, as well as Chrome sitting at the bottom. And of course I can just hit home and all of that goes away. And then of course pop-up applications always open up in pop-up mode. You can click it, open it, make it full screen, and do what you want. The sliding from the right keeps the existing application. Of course I can swipe them to the right and it puts them away. Recents application, everything pretty much works the same. Just overall, really a very good, very solid performance. And I want to actually talk to you guys right now about the experience of using this and the Mate X. So my initial impressions of this device is it's solidly built, and I hope all of the improvements that they did to it from the beginning of the year are definitely there and fixed. That's my main thing, is I'm hoping that it's fixed, because I am hoping that this does not actually have any of the issues we saw before. They do provide us with a 1-year replacement for the display, but it's $150, so it's not free. On top of that, you know, obviously you need to buy extra insurance and so on. So if you're picking this up, I do recommend you picking up the insurance for it. Now, talking about actual experience, and is this the best foldable experience that you can get? I did a video not that long ago showing you guys my experience using the Mate X while I was in Shenzhen. So I've had the opportunity to play with 2 of the major foldable phones on the market. I've also actually played with the FlexPi earlier at CES 2019, and I don't think that one really fits into the experience, as I really feel like that one's still like alpha stage, where the Mate X and the Mate X and the Fold were definitely more, I would say, beta into consumer base. And I say beta mostly because A, it's not going to be available everywhere. B, it's super expensive to buy, so not everybody's going to actually pick it up. So that's one of the things you want to keep in mind. From a folding experience, picking up the device and using it, right now I am actually limited to a very small display. With the Mate X, I have the ability of using a full phone, almost the size of, I would say, basically the Note 10 Plus. A full phone display. Now, yes, the display is on the outside, and it has a sensitive, basically very, I would say, you have to be careful using that device. But keep in mind that both of these devices have very sensitive displays. The outer display or the inner display that we have here, they tell you, don't use a fingerprint, don't do too much, very hard pushing on it. So that's things you have to have. be aware of. Yes, it is protected, but as far as a user experience, I feel like it's a little bit of a toss-up. I still prefer the Mate X overall, but I feel like based on the fact that in the US, more than likely the Mate X will never show up unless you import it yourself, and you're able to pick this up straight from Best Buy, AT&T, or even Samsung. I feel like this definitely will be the one for the US market. As far as a foldable phone that you can pick up and use today, the Galaxy Fold is it. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think? Now, this in the US for the most part is an in-store experience. You cannot order this online, so you have to go into a Samsung store, a Best Buy, or an AT&T store to pick it up. You don't have to have them open it up for you, as they kind of said that they would. You can do your own unboxing, but the main thing, of course, is just the experience of what you're getting with it. This is a foldable phone in 2019 that is actually available for consumers. It is no longer privileged to basically just a few reviewers that had access to it earlier, or even some people that saw it earlier in the beginning of the year. You can actually pick one up for yourself and use it as your daily driver. This is TK. I'll see you guys in the next video.